Good morning. I am Dr. S. Muthukumaran, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Computer Science, St.Joseph College of Arts and Science, Autonomous, Cuddalore 1. In this presentation, we are going to discuss about remote method invocations, a simple client-server application using RMI. What is RMI? Remote method invocation allows a Java object that executes on one machine to invoke a method of a Java object that executes on another machine. This is an important feature because it allows you to build distributed applications. RMI uses stub and skeleton object for communication with the remote object. A remote object is an object whose method can be invoked from another Java virtual machine. Let us understand the stub and skeleton responsibilities. Stub. The stub is an object, act as a gateway for the client side. All the outgoing requests are routed through it. It resides at the client side and represents the remote object. When the caller invokes method on the stub object, it does the following task. It initiates the connection with the remote virtual machines. It writes and transmits the parameters to the remote virtual machines. It waits for the results. It reads and marshals the return value or exception and finally returns the value to the caller. Skeleton responsibilities. The skeleton is an object, act as a gateway for the server side object. All the incoming requests are routed through it. When the skeleton receives the incoming request, it does the following task. It reads the parameter for the remote method. It invokes the method on the actual remote object, and it writes and marshals the result to the caller. A simple client and server application using RMI. In this section, we have to provide step-by-step direction for building a simple client-server application by using RMI. The server receives a request from a client, processes it, and returns a result. In this example, the request specifies two numbers. The server adds these together and returns the stub. We have to create a simple client and server application. We have to follow the 6 steps. Step 1. Enter and compile the source code. Step 2. Generate a stub file. Step 3. Install files on the client and server machines. Step 4. Start the RMI registry on the server machine. Step 5. Start the server. Step 6. Start the client. Step 1. Enter and compile the source code. The application uses 4 source files. The first file, add server intf.java, which means it defines the remote interface that is provided by the server. It contains one method that accepts 2 double arguments and returns their sum. All remote interfaces must extend the remote interface, which is the part of java.rmi.remote defines no members. Its purpose is simply to indicate that an interface uses remote methods. All remote methods can throw an remote exception. The second source file, add server impl.java, implements the remote interface. The implementation of the add method is straightforward. All remote object must extend unicast remote object, which provides functionality that is needed to make object available from remote machines. The third source file, add server.java, contains the main program for the server machine. Its primary function is to update the RMI registry on that machine. This is done by using the rebind method of the naming class. That method associates a name with an object reference. The first argument to the rebind method is a string that names the server as add server. The second argument is reference to an instance of add server IMPL. The fourth file, add client.java, implements the client side of the distributed application. Add client.java requires three command line arguments. The first is the IP address or name of the server machine. The second and third arguments are the two numbers that are to be summed. The application begins by forming a string that follows the URL syntax. This URL uses the RMI protocol. The string includes the IP address or name of the server and the string add server. The program then invokes the lookup method of the naming class. This method accepts one argument, the RMI URL, and returns a reference to an object of type add server INTF. All remote method invocations can then be directed to this object. The program continues by displaying its argument and then invokes to remote add method. The sum is returned from this method and then is printed. After you enter all the code, use Java compiler to compile the 4 source files you can created. Step 2. Generate a stub file using the command RMI compiler add server IMPL. Step 3. Install files on the client and server machines. Copy add client.class, add server stub.class and add server INTF.class to a directory on the client machine. Copy add server INTF.class, add server IMPL.class, add server IMPL stub.class and add server.class to a directory on the server machine. In meanwhile, to generate a stub, you used a tool called RMI compiler, which is invoked from RMIC add server IMPL. Step 4. Start the RMI registry on the server machine. Java provides a program called RMI registry which executes on the server machine. It maps names to the object reference. First, check the class path environment variable includes the directory in which your files are located. Then start the RMI registry from the command line start RMI registry. When this command returns, you should see that a new window has been created. You need to leave this window open until you are done experimenting with the RMI example. Step 5. Start the server. The server code is started from the command line shown here. Add server, Java add server. Recall that the add server code initiate add server IMPL and registered the object with the name add server. Step 6. Start the client. The add client software requires 3 arguments: the name or IP address of the server machine and the 2 numbers that are to be summed together. You may invoke it from the command line by using one of the 2 formats shown here. These are the references shown here. Thank you.